Hi everyone, my name is Julie. This is Keep Calm with Books and Coffee. I talk about books on this channel, mostly books with magic. If you want to hang around for that, you can subscribe down below. Today we are going to be unhauling some books. So yes, I did do an unhaul in December. It was at the end of last year, and it is time to do another one already, simply because I reorganized my bookshelves and I pulled a lot of things off. I was hoping to show you all my bookshelf reorganization, but unfortunately the time-lapse function on my phone didn't quite work the way I wanted to, and I was working on it and I kept having to start and stop the recording, and I forgot to start it up several times. So I am going to throw the footage of that bookshelf reorganization in at the end of this so you can see a little bit of what I did, but it didn't quite work out. So what we have is an unhaul of a lot of things. So I'm going to start with the largest chunk of things and then move on from there. So I've decided it is time to get rid of my Patricia Briggs books. I have most of the collection of the Mercy Thompson series up until book like 16, I think, is where I stopped reading. I'm gonna put these down because they're heavy. There are a number of reasons I'm gonna be stopping reading Patricia Briggs, including her writing style. I really don't like a lot of the choices that she's making with some of her characters. I don't like the focuses of all of her series. I also don't love how there's like no underlying plot. They're like, oh, these are serial books and we don't seem to really advance the plot or advance what's going on in the larger picture that often, and that doesn't work for me. Just overall, it's not working. So after reading these for a long time and then sort of having a gap and trying to go back to the series, I've decided it's not for me. I'm also going to be unhauling the Alpha and Omega series that I read from her. I have the first 4 books here, and this got just focused on some things that I am not interested in, and I just felt like these started to become all the same book, just set in different places. So Patricia Briggs just isn't for me, and that's what I have discovered, and I will be unhauling her from my shelves. So I have another large chunk from one author, and that is going to be Garth Nix. So Newt's Emerald is a standalone fantasy book that I have read, enjoyed, and I don't plan on rereading. The next 2 are short story collections, which I read what I wanted to out of them, and I don't plan on rereading. And then the bottom 3 are also books that I have read that are part of one of my favorite series of all time. These are add-ons to the Old Kingdom series. And Garth, don't listen to this if you ever see this video, but I love the original trilogy so much, and I will probably continue to read the installments that come out in this world, but I will probably borrow them from my library. I love the idea of each one of these books, but the execution just has not been the like absolute favorite the way the original trilogy is. So it's just time for these to go on to someone else who wants to read them. So the next group of books are ones that I read and enjoyed, some of them very, very much when I read them, but I don't anticipate myself rereading them, so I'm just going to move on from them. So the first is The Summer of Chasing Mermaids by Sarah Auchler. I loved this book so much when I read it, but it is a teen contemporary romance, and I just don't, like I said, I don't see myself rereading it, but I would not dissuade anyone from trying this. I also have Malice by Heather Walter, which was a 5-star read for me. This got sort of soured by the duology. Like the second book in the series I did not like at all, and as much as I liked this book, I just don't see myself rereading it at this point. I also have My Lady Jane by Cynthia Han, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. This was a really fun take on historical events. Like, it's a magically twisted sort of retelling of historical events, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed it, but won't be rereading it. I haven't even been able to like get myself to focus on reading the sequels. Then I also have The Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds, and this is this is told in verse. This was super impactful, super emotional, and I really found it valuable and interesting. You can probably might be able to see, it has a ton of awards on it, and like I said, found it very valuable, but I don't see myself rereading it, so I'm gonna pass it on to someone else. I also have The Accident Season by Moira Foley Doyle. This was a really interesting. This was one of my favorite books of like 2018, I think, maybe before that. And I really enjoyed it at the time, but I have never gone back and reread it, and I don't anticipate doing so. The last one in the books that I read and enjoyed but don't see myself rereading group is The Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick. This was an early booktube darling, like same year as Anna and the French Kiss. This had a couple of sequels by Huntley Fitzpatrick, and I absolutely loved this book at the time. I don't know anything about it anymore, like I don't remember, but I had such fond memories of it at the time that I had to keep it for so long. But it's time to take it off my shelf. I have never reread it. I have never even reached to reread it, and the memories have faded a little bit, so even though I'm very fond of it, I am passing it on to the next person. Then the last 4 books I have here are ones that I am unhauling, basically unread. Either I DNF'd or I've decided that I'm not interested in reading them. The first is The Spare Men by Mary Robinette Kowal. I think I talked about this in my December wrap-up, that I tried this book and I just could not get into it. I kept trying for like 50 or 75 pages and I could not connect with the characters, and I'm a big character-driven reader. Everything felt really like surface level and I couldn't really start to understand the world, so I DNF'd this. I also have The Improbable Magic for Cynical Witches by Kate Salessa. This sounded interesting, but when I picked it up and read it, the writing style wasn't for me, and it just read a little too YA, too young for me anymore, and I probably should have tried it before I bought it, but I did not, so it's moving on to another home. Then we have The Left-Handed Booksellers of London. This should have gone in with the Garth Nix stack. As much as I love the Old Kingdom series, I have just found that Garth Nix's writing isn't for me in other settings. So we tried. It just didn't work. And then the last one I have here is An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. And this isn't one that I necessarily never want to read. It is still going to remain on my TBR-like list for me to try at some point, but I don't foresee myself getting to it super soon, and it's also a YA fantasy series, so I just think it's time to pass this on and then maybe try it from my library. I'm really trying to clear off as much of the YA fantasy on my shelves as possible. That's a big focus of mine right now because it's really something that is no longer hits for me. So I'm trying, and this is one that is, the physical book is going, but the idea of the book series is staying on my shelf digitally, metaphorically, on Goodreads and Storygraph. So that's it. Those are all the books that are going out for now. Those are all my unhauls. Like I said, most of these are things that I have read but no longer feel the need to keep a physical copy of, either because I'm not continuing the series or it's been a while or whatever. You constantly have to like kind of negotiate this as you collect books, also clearing books, or at least that's what happens for me. If you have any thoughts or feelings about any of the books I talked about today, please let me know down below, but please be respectful. A lot of this isn't anything against the books, it's just time for them to go off of my shelves for one reason or another. But if you don't have any thoughts or you don't want to chat, you can always leave me your favorite nature-related emoji down below, whether that's a pine tree, a raindrop, whatever. I just am feeling very nature-related today. That's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!